It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from downtown Nashville. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
And welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. We are indeed broadcasting live from our studios in downtown Nashville. We are delighted, as we are every Friday at this time, to welcome to our microphones the Academy Award nominated screenwriter, the great writer, my former boss at PJTV many moons ago.
Oh boy, getting many more
lifetimes ago.
Every day it gets more. Interestingly.
And also the founder of the Substack. Tell us again the Substack.
AmericanRefugees.substack.com. But if you're looking for it, and you should, because it's getting very hot, just Google or whatever you use. I hate Google, but I use it. Roger Simon Substack, and it'll take you there in
Boom.
2 seconds.
There you go. Roger, drama going on in Washington, D.C. The government is going to run out of money at midnight, asterisk, and it's going to shut down, asterisk. It's going to go to, like 75% or something.
Yeah.
To me, I don't care if it shuts down that way. I mean,
the whole shutdown thing is a big charade.
Yeah.
What it means is maybe national parks get closed for a week.
Yeah.
But they'll be closed over Christmas. And what that will mean is some people will be avoiding ski accidents.
Yeah.
I'm
with you.
To that.
So
everybody eventually gets paid, by the way. It always happens.
Yeah, that always happens.
It's a big nothing.
It is a totally big nothing. Now, they have until midnight tonight to put a deal together. It doesn't look like it's going to happen for any number of reasons. They had this big 1,500-page pork-filled bill that dropped. Then they cut the bill down to 100 pages, and but according to Tim Burchett, according to Andy Ogles, the 100 pages actually spends more money than the 1,500 pages. I don't know. I haven't seen it. But that went down to defeat yesterday.
And now there's a negotiation going on involving Chip Roy, who's the really obstinate one, and J.D. Vance and other people to come up with yet a third proposal that may go before Congress tonight.
Maybe. Yeah.
Or not.
Honestly, I don't really care that much.
Yeah, there's no reason to care.
Yeah, it's because, so it shuts down. Who cares? Now,
I mean, the pompous Hakeem Jeffries.
Oh my God!
Who's such a bore. We'll try to get in front of the camera and blame Republicans for shutting down.
When is the last time any of these Democrats had an original, useful thought?
Well, this woman who I barely know of, who has purple hair, and
Rosa DeLauro,
who is arguably runs the show for the Democrats because she's the one who decides what their proposals are going to be. If it's all upset because Elon Musk, according to her, doesn't understand appropriations. This is a man who runs 4 or 5 of the biggest businesses in the world.
Yeah,
if you put that in front of this woman, she'd go, oh.
Yeah, beyond crazy. So now I tell you what, when we saw the vote last night, 38 Republicans voted against this option B, including our friends Tim Burchett voted against it. And Andy Ogles. Part of it had to do, as they said, it actually spent more money, and what they didn't like is it raised this, quote, debt ceiling, which is always a bit of a problem, right?
Right. Well, here's the sad truth. There's a debt ceiling. In order to fix the national debt, which is a catastrophe, everybody knows it, it's probably going to have to go up a little bit anyway first. That's what happens.
Trump is actually looking for some maneuverability room. Because
exactly.
There's going to be another vote on the debt ceiling. If it's not raised now,
it'll
should be
be
June.
raised in a few weeks.
Yeah, and so it's kind of a silly thing.
Yep.
And
some of these guys who are being obstructionist about it, well, they're trying to make a point. But I think the point has already been made by the existence of Doge.
Yeah. Now, let me come back to that a minute. So of the 38 people that voted no and against the president, because the president said pass this thing, the president-elect, I misspoke.
The virtual president.
Yeah, the virtual president. So I can, again, this is you don't have enough information. I can see the argument that they're making to oppose it, but there is one guy who is just unbearably self-righteous and just a kind of a big jerk. His name is Chip Roy.
I'm shocked. I was recently listening to a Chip Roy interview this morning. And
on Glenn Beck, right? Yeah.
Yes, he can't get off his high horse. I mean, he makes one really fallacious claim. It makes several, but one of those was really fallacious on the Beck show was this. He claimed he owed it to his constituents who he said sent him there to block more spending. But the truth is, his constituents all voted for Donald J. Trump for president.
Yeah.
And Trump is trying with Musk and Ramaswamy to do things that have never been done in this country ever. And this guy is actually standing in the way of what he claims to be in favor of. So it's just grandstanding, and I predict he is going to be in trouble at primary time.
Yeah, now, it's interesting to say that because the thing is, he is putting himself up as the one and only arbiter of fiscal responsibility in the United States of America, and he's doing it in a most irritating, self-aggrandizing way.
Yeah, the interesting thing about the word of aggrandizing is that anybody who does that usually does it against themselves in the end.
Yeah.
It's a really double-edged sword word if there ever was one. I mean, well chosen in your, because that's what he's doing. But it's interesting to watch that word and watch that behavior.
This is one of the reasons we have you on. Because there is no better wordsmith in America.
Well, thank you for that.
Than Roger Simon.
There might be some, but not
I've
too
never
many.
seen him.
Not
But
too
when I say that, it's because you do it with a sense of edge and humor, as well, which is what our audience
you've got to do
loves
it.
about you. So okay, but I think it's a style thing too, because if you listen to Tim Burchett describe it, it's very different, and it's not self-aggrandizing in the way that.
And speaking of humor, that guy has humor.
I love that guy.
In fact, he's the only one in the Congress with any humor.
He's a very modest guy, but very down to earth and very likable.
Yeah.
So, by the way, if people want to join in this conversation, our number is 615-649-8477. 615-649-8477. So, Roger, where's this all going to go?
I think if I were to predict at this point, we're getting late in the day, as it were. I don't think they're going to rescue the CR at this point. So what we will have is a government closure. Be frightened. You're supposed to be frightened of this. Of all times to have a closure. During the Christmas season, most of these things are closed anyway.
So I think
that's the irony of it all.
Yeah, I think basically this is a much ado about nothing.
Yes.
Because Chip Roy's going to strut.
Yes.
Hakeem Jeffries is going to vomit stupid words that don't
now,
make any.
the thing that's supposed to be important about it is it gives Schumer a leg up over Trump. I'm not sure it really does.
I don't think it is. They're going to go on. Oh, it's a shutdown of the Republicans, and people are that's too old.
Yeah,
they're tired.
Exactly. The shutdown thing is lost.
Crazy. When we come back, Roger, we're going to change the topic a little bit. We're going to talk about our various memories of the Christmas season. A Catholic kid from upstate New York, a Jewish kid from Manhattan, New York City.
You got it.
Back after this.
Hey there, this is Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of the Glock Store. As a proud sponsor of this show, you may have heard Michael Patrick Leahy mention us a few times over the past 4 years. But today, it's me on the radio telling you how pleased we are to be associated with Michael Patrick Leahy and his dedication to the highest levels of professional journalism. Michael Patrick Leahy has been threatened with jail time in bringing the true facts about that Nashville Covenant shooting to his listening audience. Michael Patrick Leahy, you keep doing what you're doing, and we here at the Glock Store will keep sponsoring your show for the good of Nashville and the entire country. And I'm personally inviting all of your listeners to come visit and shoot at the Glock Store. It's where Michael Patrick Leahy learned to shoot a gun for the first time and where he bought his own personal Glock 19. I'm Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of the Glock Store here in Nashville, just minutes from the airports, worth the drive from anywhere, and a proud sponsor of Michael Patrick Leahy and the Tennessee Star Report.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back. In studio, all-star panelist Roger Simon. Roger, I want to talk about something. I don't think you and I have ever talked about this before, all the years that we've been talking on air. Different memories of growing up on Christmas season. And we kind of had two different experiences, separated by about a decade. As when I was a kid, I was an Irish Catholic kid in small towns in upstate New York. You were a Jewish kid in Manhattan.
In the biggest town.
In the biggest town in the world. And so these are very different experiences. I'll let you start because I don't know. I want to hear your experience.
Well, my experience was fabulous as a kid. When and I had it both ways, because my parents had, largely at the instigation of my mother, a Hanukkah bush, what we called a Hanukkah bush, which was a Christmas tree. So we celebrated both Christmas and Hanukkah
A Hanukkah bush.
That was the joke, yeah.
That was a joke. Okay,
yeah.
I got you.
So it had everything on it. We did all the lighting and everything.
So you went out,
except there was no baby Jesus there.
So
but that was it.
So you went out and you got a Christmas tree.
Yep.
And you called it a Hanukkah bush.
Yes, as a joke.
I love it.
Mean, everybody knew it was a joke.
Yeah.
Part of the whole thing is the thing. The truth about Hanukkah. Hanukkah is an important holiday to the Jews, but it's not nearly as important as it might have been. It had not been basically around Christmas time. It's not always.
Tell our listeners.
It's on the Jewish calendar.
Tell our listeners what the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah is.
It's a celebration of the victory by the Maccabees over Syrians, and there are 8 days to it, and that's why you have the menorah, because the miracle of Hanukkah supposedly was there was enough oil to light the menorah for 8 days.
And this that victory, I think, was that like in about 170 BC?
Roughly, yeah.
Okay. Back in the day.
Yeah.
Okay, and it typically occurs in early December, mid-December?
Yeah, it's on the Jewish calendar. That's a lunar calendar. Mm-hmm. Therefore, it shifts around. And this year, as it happens, the first night of Hanukkah is Christmas night.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
okay.
But it's not always that way. I mean,
so
it's usually a little earlier.
So didn't you live like on Park Avenue? Where did you
I
live?
I lived on Fifth Avenue.
Fifth Avenue, close enough.
Yeah.
Right. So you had an apartment in a building?
We used to go down to Gimbel's and all. The lights in New York at that time of year were fantastic. I mean, for kids, you just loved it. And, it was predominantly Christmas, but there are a lot of Jews in New York, as everybody knows. Mm-hmm. So it's it got to, a lot of it had to do with what kind of family you had. Mm-hmm. And I think my father was a little guilty about it, but he went along.
About it?
Because he was from a more traditional Jewish background.
Mm-hmm. Now, you lived in, would it be a big apartment building?
Yeah,
on
I lived
Fifth
in an
Avenue?
apartment building, so they would have they would have both a menorah and a Christmas tree in the lobby.
Did you have a doorman?
We had a doorman.
Wow.
Yeah,
Like in the movies.
Yeah, like in the movies. There was a doorman and there was an elevator operator in those days.
What floor were you on?
The second. So it wasn't.
not that much.
It wasn't like
How many floors in the building?
There was 16, I think.
Wow. Did you know your neighbors in the building?
I knew a few.
Huh.
I knew a few, and I knew some next door. And it was a building right near Mount Sinai Hospital, which where my father worked. He was a doctor, and therefore there were a lot of doctors in the building.
Yeah.
And I knew a lot of the doctors' kids because their families knew each other.
Yeah. Interesting. What particular event was the most interesting to you during that Christmas season of your youth? This would be the 1950s, early 1960s, right?
During the big event was really the Thanksgiving Macy's Day Parade. And at that point I lived on Central Park West, so it went right by my window. And my mother was terrified I would fall out the window because my birthday party was always just then, because I was born on November 22nd.
Roger.
So that was a bigger deal. But the other thing was going downtown for the Christmas tree lighting at Rockefeller Center.
That was a big deal.
Oh, yeah. I
Fun.
think we did it a lot of times. I don't remember how many.
Who lit the tree?
It's 100 years ago.
It was the mayor? Who officially?
Usually it was the mayor of New York.
Which mayor do you recall?
Oh,
doing
God.
It? None of them?
You're asking a question.
Way back when.
Way back. And, I think at the age of 7 and so forth, when I went there, I didn't know who the hell the mayor was. Nor did I care.
Yeah. Nor did you care.
Right.
So where would your mother had the idea to decorate the house with a Christmas tree? Do you recall going somewhere to pick out a Christmas tree with your father or mother?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Usually we'd go up to the Bronx, I think.
Really?
Yeah. And
Did you go with your mom or your dad?
With my dad, and we'd strap the tree to. I mean, it's the kind of thing that people do even now, I think. We'd strap the tree to the roof of the car and drive.
You
it
had
down.
a car.
You had a car, yeah.
So you lived in these big buildings.
Yeah.
Did you have like a parking area?
Yeah, they had a parking area.
Okay, so
but they had one car. They didn't have.
They had one car.
Yeah.
So you would get in your car, and you drive up to the Bronx.
Right.
And would this be a typical Christmas tree lot of that era?
Yes. Yeah, very much like what you see anywhere, really. Yeah. It wasn't as built up as it was today. I don't know what people do now. I think we also, because you're pushing me back about 70 years here. We ordered it on occasion too. Someone would show up with a tree.
Yeah. So in my experience was very different. It was small town, and typically as a kid, we lived in the biggest town I lived in growing up was Plattsburgh, New York, so which had a population of 20,000. Then we moved to Dannemora, which had a population of about 3,000.
Well,
then we moved to Munnsville, which had a population of about 500. Then we moved to Randolph, which had a population of 1,500. Now, what's interesting about this, every one of those cities had a Catholic church. And we were Irish Catholic, right? And at that time, Democrat Irish Catholic. And this was the period of time when John F. Kennedy was running for president. So obviously, we looked and we want to be like John F. Kennedy. That was my goal in life, to be the next John F. Kennedy, right? A little twist and turn along the way as a kid. And so, but we would go.
Probably a lot of kids.
Like half of the kids that I knew probably wanted to do that. But we would go. And in my first 3 years, I went to a Catholic school. Did I tell you that? I went to the Catholic school, and the nuns ran it. The Sisters of We Have No Mercy for You.
Right.
No, they were nice. But so we were very steeped in the Catholic experience. And I recall a big thing was something called, you'd have midnight mass. And it was a big thing for the family, and a big thing when you were old enough to attend midnight mass with your parents.
Keep your eyes open.
Yeah, it was, and it was really, really the pageantry even in these little towns where in most of the places I grew up, except for Plattsburgh had like 3 Catholic churches, but all the other ones, they just had one. And typically the Catholics were, not the dominant religion. Typically there'd be various Protestant dominations. So the Catholics kind of stuck together. But I can recall thinking of the colorful pageantry of midnight mass, because the priests at that time would wear their green and gold garb, and the churches would be decorated in very colorful ways, and it was an extraordinarily unifying experience to be part of that, and just so much fun. And
I imagine. One of the reasons I imagine well is when I lived in L.A., what we used to do during Christmas time a lot is go down to Olvera Street, because that's the Mexican, old Mexican street, because the Mexican Christmas goes forever. So it's 12 days but the music and the dancing
was
and
great.
The whole thing. So we would go down there and just enjoy it. And
it sounds like fun. I can tell you,
tacos.
I can promise you, growing up in upstate New York in the late 50s, early 60s, we had even no idea what Mexican food was. All right.
Well, you missed something.
Know it now. All right. Back with more after this. He's Roger Simon. I'm Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back. All-Star panelist Roger Simon in studio. Our phone number 615-649-8477. On the phone, Pete from Georgia wants to talk about the continuing resolution. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning. How you doing, John?
Well, Michael, it is the John Fredericks Radio Network.
Right.
Right.
But that's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay. We appreciate your call.
I think we found some money in a shoebox
Yeah.
for the resolution.
Where'd you find it, buddy?
$1.2 billion going to Ukraine.
I saw that. They just popped that story out this morning.
Yeah, a lot of rich people in Ukraine now.
Yeah. Well, not only that, that's just the beginning. Look at all of the other money that's been spent before, and all it's doing is you don't win against the nuclear power anyway. Nobody wins.
So,
Okay.
Pete, I saw that story of that $1.2 billion they claim to Ukraine. This is Biden on the way out the door. I'm going to send another $1.2 billion to Ukraine, but basically because Zelensky's, he doesn't have a big enough DACA to go to, right? Or a big enough building in London to go to after the settlement.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
the other thing about it is that besides nobody knows where that money is going, I doubt it was Biden himself who did it. I think Biden's so gaga, he's not even capable of that. So look to
let's
Jake
ask him.
Sullivan and these guys. There's a lot of evil going on.
We should ask him then on national TV.
You should.
Well, I don't think you're going to have an opportunity to ask him for the next for the final 30 days as he heads out the door to a beach and
What's he in his basement?
Yeah, beach, retirement home, and mausoleum in Delaware. That's where he's
You're
going.
going to ask his wife. She's
Catch him before he leaves.
Yeah.
and not much chance.
Pete, here, let me get you, because you raised the point of that $1.2 billion. Now, they're claiming that was already funded. But, there's something called impoundment.
That's right.
I think that President Trump ought to say, we're not going to give you the $1.2 billion. And sue us if you want it. What do you think, Pete?
Yeah, not only that, all that's going to do is create more martyrs. Nobody wins against the nuclear power. Why don't they just get it through their heads?
So, Pete, I detect from your accent that although you may live in Georgia, you actually grew up probably in Massachusetts.
Everybody says that, but that's in the Northeast. That's correct. But yeah.
You won't identify the state of origin because there are so few conservatives in some of these states. You get in the practice of kind of laying low, right?
That's right. That's right.
How long have you lived in Georgia?
About 15 years.
How much more fun is Georgia than the obscure, yet to be named?
A lot more fun.
Blue State.
More fun because it's time we do things right already. This is time to stop playing these games.
I can't disagree with you on that. I can't. Okay, where do you think this is all going to go, Pete?
I think that eventually people are starting to wake up little by little. What they're doing, spending all of this money, giving themselves raises. I mean,
Oh, but hold it, Pete. You're just so mean.
Yeah,
You're
my
so
God.
mean.
I'm real mean.
I mean, look,
Hey, don't you know that John Cornyn only has a net worth of $44 million that was published the other day? That's not enough. Come on, the stock market's down.
Well, how much
Give a
are
guy
the
a break.
How much are the retirees getting? Well, they got to pay extra for Social Security and everything else.
So, Pete, I saw this report that they currently members of Congress make $170,000 a year. Yeah. I saw one report that said the proposed raise was $70,000 a year.
That's correct.
Which would put for $240,000 a year. That's a lot of money. Are they worth $240,000 a year, Pete?
They should do it for nothing. If they,
Absolutely agree with you.
If they want to help the country, right? That's what they're there for.
Yeah, and if you look at the net worth of all these people, it's spectacular in many cases.
Exactly.
So they're making more money on interest than they could possibly make on salary.
So
Here's the other thing. Patrick. Here's the other thing. Back in
That's
the day,
Michael
these
and
people-
Roger, but that's okay.
Keep rolling. Keep rolling. Pete.
I'll get it right, Mike.
No, that's okay. You're doing fine.
Michael.
We're
All
just
right. Now,
Pete.
back-
We're in the holiday spirit. And we're just having some fun.
We
so-
just roll with it.
Go ahead.
Back in the day, these representatives had to travel by horse and buggy and everything else. Do we really need them in Washington? Why can't they stay in the home base and just record everything, any votes or everything else? Let the people at the constituency decide what they want, not what they want.
So
That's
I think
the point I'm raising.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point. Let me throw something at you here, because I have a theory about legislative bodies, and the theory is the people who are serving those legislative bodies should not be paid, should not make their full living off of being a legislator, whether it be at the state level or at the federal level. Number one. Number two, the worst state legislatures in the country are those where the legislators are paid much better than the average person, and it's a full-time job. The best state legislators are those that are only in session part of the year. Your thoughts on that, Pete?
Yep, I agree with you on that, and also on that note, all that money that's being made and everything else, they should be capped, to a certain point, where not to give themselves raises all the time. Like I said, they could stay at their home base.
Yeah.
They don't need to go to Washington. You don't need all of these lobbyists. And the second thing is that probably needs correction is everybody talks about two-term limits. You really don't need two-term limits. All you need to know is notify the people this guy served 2 terms, this representative, and nobody vote for him.
Well, Roger,
I don't think that'll happen that way, unfortunately.
You were
but
gonna say something
I'm for
about-
term limits. But
Giving it back to the people, though. Let
yeah.
the people decide.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
the
In
people
theory,
are getting propagandized every 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's
Yeah, but if somebody puts it out on X and says, "Hey, this person had 2 terms," okay, he can go back home now.
Okay,
Don't
well,
vote for him.
that's
That's it. It's
an
over.
interesting
You know,
thought.
You
Pete?
don't need to spend $2 billion on races and everything else.
that's for sure.
A little thing called the Constitution, though, would have an impact on that. Roger, you were going to say
How
something.
much money can be saved that way?
Pete, Roger wanted to say something.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I mean, for once, I didn't.
Oh, for once. Pete, look, thanks so much for calling in, and keep track of us. On what station do you listen to us, by the way? Do you listen to the app or on the station?
On the radio.
Which station?
What is that?
The 1660.
MLB 16.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good. Well, thanks so much for listening. We really appreciate it, Pete, and call back again soon, if you would, please.
All right, take care.
Our number is 615-649-8477, 615-649-8477. Now, Pete is a very engaged guy, and, it's interesting, Roger. I think he encapsulates the attitudes that a lot of people have about the federal government, and particularly our elected representatives. Unimpressed, I think, would be a good way to put it, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, I am. And listen, I'm unimpressed too. And, it's interesting. Who would want to go into politics now? Is a worthy of real thought. I would never want to do it, and I've been asked to do it. And I don't think you would want to do it.
No, I wouldn't want to do it. There was a time when I really wanted to do it.
Yeah,
we have
very
a caller.
different time.
We have a caller from Virginia who wants to join us. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind, Steve?
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good.
Growing up in Randolph, New York, I know you know good from evil. I grew up in Frewsburg. You know where?
Whoa, hold on just a minute. What was your name again?
David.
David from Frewsburg. Now,
Correct.
Roger, let me tell you something.
I don't know where Kreuzberg is.
Okay, so if you look at the map of New York, far western New York, the most southwestern county in the state that borders Lake Erie is Chautauqua County. And Frewsburg is a little village in Chautauqua County near Jamestown.
I know where Jamestown is.
About
yeah.
5 miles south of Jamestown. Randolph is about 12 miles east of there. David, from Frewsburg, what year did you graduate from Frewsburg High School?
1971, along with 49 other people.
Well, okay, 1973 from Randolph, along with 72 other people. So, and we would go to Frewsburg. We used to play Frewsburg in Babe Ruth a lot.
Did you win?
Always. David, what brought you to Virginia, and what's on your mind today?
I'm a family doctor, and I've lived all over the country. I came here for warmer weather, and the hospitals were playing games up in Ohio, so I moved down here.
Are you still?
Anyway.
Do you still practice?
Very little.
Okay.
80% retired.
What is on your mind today?
What were the games that they were playing? I don't know why to interrupt, but what were the games the hospitals were playing in Ohio?
Oh, they will open up a urgent care right down the road from you, and then their little rep comes by and say, "Oh, how can we help you?" And I said, "Quit competing with me."
I see. Yeah.
Well, you called in on the budget, I think, David. What point would you like to make?
Oh, actually, I wanted to talk about Biden's commutations and pardons.
We got 2 minutes. It's all yours. Go for it.
Okay. Well, he's commuting the sentences of really evil people.
No kidding.
And it's just shocking, this kids for cash judge in Pennsylvania. You know, I'm thinking that he can't do financial transactions through the banks anymore, but there have got to be gold bars coming across the country, you know, with little couriers for him to even consider these type of evil people. Goodness gracious.
David, you know, it's interesting you mentioned that because the volume of the pardons and the commutations, it's like 1,500. It's like 4 or 5 times any other
It's
president.
head spinning.
And I had a similar thought that his allegedly crooked brother, maybe even Hunter, I don't know. Somebody greased the skids there.
Absolutely.
Also, that is absolutely true, but also the more pardons he does, the more they'll slip by, including ones that are important to him and his family.
Yes,
Exactly.
it's like a when you sue somebody, and you have discovery, and they send to you like 25,000 boxes.
Pages of
and there's like one page there that's got the smoking gun.
Yeah.
They're trying to hide it.
Right.
Well, David, I think that's a very, very good point, and we are delighted to reconnect with a fellow upstate New Yorker from Frewsburg, New York. Thanks so much for calling.
I think Frewsburg won.
You
know,
no, never. David, thanks for calling
we're
today.
Gonna check the
All
record.
right. Have a good one. Bye.
All right. We always beat Frewsburg. Back with Roger Simons after this.
My fellow Americans, I was this close, very close, to buying from the lumber yards. These are sick people. But I turned my head at the last second, and I saw a big, beautiful ad for D.T. McCall's. These are highly respected people. If I had not turned my head at the last second, I would have been ripped off at some lumber yard for $200 in hidden charges, and D.T. McCall and Sons are never going to do that. They'd never do that to you. These are great people. I've known them for a long time. They have great deals, and I just have to say, nobody knows deals like I do. D.T. McCall & Sons has locations in Lebanon, Carthage, Lafayette, Cookeville, and Franklin, and they have been family-owned in Middle Tennessee for over 100 years. These are tremendous people. D.T. McCall & Sons. Check out one of their stores today.
Impersonator not endorsed by Donald Trump.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Roger Simon in studio, all-star panelist. Roger, this is our last broadcast together for 2024.
Unbelievable.
I know.
It's been one hell of a year.
Well, there we go. I mean, if we had been talking about this a year ago, would we have ever predicted how 2024 would turn out?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the Biden administration was so horrendous
that's a good point.
that something had to happen, and it did. I was just looking at my cell phone in the internet here, and up popped this thing that Chris Salisa of CNN is suddenly apologizing that for 4 years, not just this year, in 2024, but 4 years, he didn't say anything about the obviousness of Biden having been senile.
Mm-hmm.
That is what, I mean, when we look back at 2024, the idea that we had a president who was senile for the entire, I mean, it's hard.
Incredible.
Yeah.
There was a little blurb last night, Biden rushing back to the White House, Kamala Harris rushing back to the White House, people saying 25th Amendment, 25th Amendment. Yeah, there's not enough time to go through that process. Although he could say something like, as you know, when Dwight Eisenhower had a heart attack, he was temporarily incapacitated, and Nixon was the acting president in the 50s, as moved up from vice president. They might pull off some little scam like that.
To have Kamala
take
over for a few weeks?
Yeah, for a few weeks. Oh, but that would be word salad city.
Yeah, right.
What strikes you as the most significant thing of 2024?
Trump won.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as simple as that.
Said Captain Obvious, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Trump won.
I mean, what could possibly be similar? Well, 2023 was the invasion of Israel by Hamas.
Yes.
But that's 2023.
Yeah, and it's moved so fast ever since.
Yeah.
The other thing that I notice is the dramatic change in the media landscape of the world in 2024.
Absolutely. I mean, ding dong, the witch is dead. Meaning the mainstream media is no one's paying attention.
No one cares.
Yeah.
Because it's the same old, same old.
Yeah.
I mean, I could, all of, you name them, Martha Raddatz, Chuck
Walker,
Todd,
yeah.
they all say the same old stupid stuff.
Well, they're all propagandists.
Yeah.
So, the thing about propaganda is it becomes very obvious. And, I think people are just turned off by the propaganda. They're turning off those channels. They're going, they're up for sale. Or who knows what's going to happen in the next year about that.
Okay, this is a shot here now. I'm going to throw you a curveball. What is going to be the big news in 2025 that no one is really seeing right now?
Whoa, that is a curveball because I am not Nostradamus. And the interesting thing about Nostradamus, by the way, is if you go back and look at him, he missed most of the time.
Yeah, the only thing is this was like the philosopher type guy in the 1500s. And basically what they did is he made all sorts of predictions. The 10% of them that came true are the ones that you hear about.
Yeah, exactly. Also, they were all vague enough,
Yeah.
like I could say, in 2025, war will break out. Okay. Almost every year, war is broken out somewhere.
It always breaks out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think it's such a curveball to say that I think that there may be a revolution in Iran of some sort in 2020, in the next year.
That's a very, very good prediction, because it's the old saying of Hemingway used to say, "How one goes bankrupt."
Yeah.
Slowly, and then all of a sudden.
Right.
And then how do revolutions occur?
Like
Slowly, then all of a sudden.
Well, that was Syria. It's like that.
Yeah. That's a very good point. Although there may have been some foreign influence in that process, I think that's a very good prediction, because everything you see that the Iranian people really despise
their government, and
their
they should.
government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they torture them.
Yeah, that's
And
never a
what
good
they
idea.
do to what they do to women is beyond conception.
Yeah.
So maybe that's wish fulfillment, because I know a lot of Iranians who lived in L.A. when I was there. We used to call tarantulas.
A lot of expatriate Iranians in L.A.
Yeah, that's the center for that. And you feel for them, but there's some here too in Nashville.
Yeah.
But and not just the expatriates, but the people living there. Those are the ones you really feel for.
See, I think that's a very, and I have the same sense, not being an expert in foreign policy.
Well,
but
is?
yeah, I mean, but have reading a lot about it. And from what I read, I do think you're right. I think, and look, if that were to happen, now the other part about this is, we do not have a somnambulant dope in the White House in 2025.
No.
We got Donald J. Trump.
Right.
There's a guy who's on top of it 20 hours a day.
26 hours.
26 hours.
He doesn't sleep.
He doesn't sleep. Oh, he does it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But, with him in the White House and with him pressing forward on the American agenda, I think it might just be the tipping point.
Yes.
And on that note, Roger, thank you for another great year here as a guest here.
I'll see you next year, as they say.
I will. Ha, ha, ha. See you next year, Roger.
Right.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. And when we come back, the Tennessee Bonus Hour with original All-Star panelist Crom Carmichael. I'm Michael Patrick Leahy. See all our stories at TennesseeStar.com.